The rain poured heavily over the city as 22-year-old Emma Carter stood outside her parents' house, clutching a small suitcase and wiping tears from her cheeks. "Don't come back here," her father shouted from the doorway. "You've disgraced this family," her mother cried. Emma's younger sister looked away in shame. With trembling hands, Emma touched her growing belly. 3 months earlier, she had met a kind stranger during a charity event. His name was Daniel. They spent one magical evening together talking about dreams, family, and life. He had been gentle, respectful, and sincere. But the next morning, he disappeared. No phone number, no address, nothing. Weeks later, Emma discovered she was pregnant. When she told her family, they were horrified. "A child without a father?" her father yelled. "Who even is this man?" her mother demanded. Emma couldn't answer, because she didn't know. Now she stood alone in the rain, pregnant, homeless, abandoned. Yet deep inside, she whispered to her unborn baby, "I'll never abandon you." Months passed. Emma rented a tiny room above an old bakery and worked long hours as a waitress. Life was difficult. Customers sometimes mocked her. Bills piled up. Her family refused every phone call. But each night she placed her hands on her belly and smiled. "You and me against the world." One evening, after finishing work, Emma felt sharp pain. Her water broke. A customer quickly called an ambulance. Hours later, a beautiful baby boy entered the world. Emma named him Noah. Holding him for the first time, she cried tears of joy. The hospital room was silent, except for Noah's tiny breathing. Then a nurse entered carrying an envelope. "This was delivered for you." Emma frowned. "For me?" The nurse nodded. Inside was a handwritten note. "If you are Emma Carter, please contact the Royal Foundation immediately. It concerns Daniel Alexander." Emma stared at the name. Daniel. Her heart nearly stopped. The next day, she called the number. A calm female voice answered. "Miss Carter, we've been searching for you." Emma's confusion deepened. "Searching for me?" "Yes. Please come to the Royal Foundation headquarters." 2 days later, she arrived carrying baby Noah. The building looked more like a palace than an office. Inside, several elegantly dressed people greeted her. Then a silver-haired man stepped forward. "My name is Lord Whitmore." Emma felt nervous. "What is this about?" The older man smiled gently. "It's about Prince Daniel." Emma froze. "Prince?" "Yes." The room spun around her. Prince Daniel? The stranger she met wasn't an ordinary man. He was the heir to one of Europe's wealthiest royal families, a billionaire prince. Emma struggled to breathe. "That can't be possible." Lord Whitmore nodded. "It is." He explained everything. Daniel had attended the charity event secretly, without security or royal identification. He wanted one evening as a normal person. After meeting Emma, he had spoken about her constantly. He intended to find her again. But 3 days later, tragedy struck. Daniel was severely injured in a helicopter accident overseas. For months, he remained unconscious. Only recently had he awakened. The first thing he requested was to find Emma. Tears filled her eyes. "He looked for me?" "Every day." 1 week later, Emma received an invitation to the royal estate. She arrived trembling. The palace was magnificent. Golden gates, beautiful gardens, marble halls. Nothing in her life had prepared her for such luxury. A servant guided her to a private sitting room. Then the door opened. Daniel entered. For several seconds, neither spoke. His eyes filled with emotion. "Emma." Tears rolled down her face. "You disappeared." Daniel stepped forward. "I tried to come back." He explained the accident and months of recovery. Emma listened quietly. Then she placed baby Noah in his arms. "This is your son." Daniel looked down. The tiny boy wrapped a finger around his father's hand. Prince Daniel began crying. The future king of a billion-dollar royal empire stood silently holding his son. For the first time in his life, Wealth meant nothing. Only family mattered. Over the following months, Daniel became deeply involved in Noah's life. He changed diapers, read bedtime stories, took midnight walks. Emma slowly learned that behind the royal title was the same kind man she had met at the charity event. One evening, they sat together overlooking the palace gardens. Daniel turned toward her. "I made a promise when I first met you." Emma smiled softly. "What promise?" "That if I ever found someone with a truly beautiful heart, I would never let her go." He reached into his pocket. A diamond ring sparkled under the evening lights. "Emma Carter, will you marry me?" She burst into tears, not because he was a prince, not because he was a billionaire, but because he loved her and Noah. "Yes." News of the engagement spread worldwide. Television stations covered the story. Newspapers printed her photograph. Social media exploded with excitement. Then something unexpected happened. Emma's family called. After nearly a year of silence, they wanted to see her. She agreed. When they arrived at the palace, they looked overwhelmed. Her father could barely speak. Her mother cried. "We were wrong," her mother whispered. Emma remained silent. Her father lowered his head. "We judged you. We abandoned you when you needed us most." Tears filled his eyes. "Can you ever forgive us?" For a moment, old memories returned. The shouting, the rejection, the loneliness, the nights she cried herself to sleep. Then Noah giggled from across the room. Emma smiled. She understood something important. Holding onto anger only creates more pain. She stepped forward and hugged her parents. "I forgive you." Her mother broke down, sobbing. Her father wrapped his arms around both of them. Years of hurt began to heal. 6 months later, millions watched as Emma walked down the aisle of a magnificent royal chapel. Flowers filled the air with fragrance. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows. Prince Daniel waited at the altar. Their son Noah, dressed in a tiny suit, stole everyone's attention. As Emma approached, Daniel whispered, "I loved you before I knew where life would take us." Emma smiled. "And I loved you before I knew you were a prince." They exchanged vows. The crowd erupted in applause. But the greatest victory wasn't wealth. It wasn't royal titles. It wasn't fame. The greatest victory was kindness. A young woman abandoned by her family had chosen love instead of bitterness. And because she never gave up on herself or her child, life rewarded her in ways she could never imagine. Sometimes the person the world rejects is the very person destiny is preparing for something extraordinary. And sometimes the stranger who changes your life forever turns out to be a prince. But the true fairy tale isn't about riches. It's about finding someone who sees your worth when everyone else has forgotten it. The end.